right, good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2014, and this is For the First Cup with Jules on UCY.TV. How are you today? It seems like it's been eons since I've been here. It's only been a couple days, but it definitely feels like a couple weeks since I've been on the air. And ask me if I've been paying attention a little bit. Sometimes not. But it's okay. We have all kinds of stuff to talk about today. I'm still kind of recovering. I told everyone I had to go get some dental work done. I had that cracked molar since Christmas time, so I finally decided to let them get in there and do what they had to do. But it kind of knocked me for a loop. I don't know. I'm still struggling against a sinus infection. I think I'm okay right now. What about wicked storms yesterday? We had a really nasty one that blew through. It came down over Lake Ontario, and I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. When that front pushed through, you heard this major... I actually was taking a snooze for a few minutes. It was during my nap time. And there was this major, like, swoosh... And then there were baseballs falling from the sky, and things started to flip over, and then it just started to pour with rain. Ends up a couple streets down just from here, we had the scanners on. 15 power poles got knocked down. Now, I don't know. Power poles are pretty deep in the ground, I would imagine. I mean, I don't think that's something that you could, like, hit with a truck. And they typically don't get knocked over. They get cracked in half. So the fact that 15 power poles got knocked over, I think, meant it was pretty intense. And Prepper Chick told me that I believe there was a tornado that touched down in Jefferson County, which is to the east of here in the Adirondacks region. But still, I mean, it's pretty rare that we get a tornado in New York State. So... hey, the weather is wacky everywhere, and you guys saw those tornadoes in Nebraska, right? I know that we had all talked about them yesterday in chat, that double tornado. That was one of the most wicked things I had ever seen. So last night at dinner, I was flipping through, and I had Weather Channel on for a few minutes, and I guess there were 12 people injured now and 2 killed, I heard. But it absolutely destroyed the town. I just could not imagine, and that's a couple times now that we've seen that up in that region where a huge, massive tornado comes through and just completely eats the town. I mean, there really didn't seem like there was much left. That's just insane. And what would you do? And that's why, you know, stuff like prepping and the things that Lori talks about, I think is so important. You always got to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And she was surprised when she saw the tornado in New York. She messaged me and she's like, is that normal there for you guys? And I said, well, not normal, but out of my whole life here in upstate New York, I've seen 3 in Buffalo. Like 3, at least in my lifetime. Now, I'm sure there probably were more in the outskirts, but in Buffalo proper... above northern suburbs and southern suburbs, I've seen 3. Southern tier of New York, in the last 6 years, I've then seen an additional 2. So that's 5. And then that's just personal experience. And that is not including, the rest of New York. So I'm sure JJ would probably tell you he knows about a few. And Ozzy will tell you he knows about a few more. Kaz will tell you he knows a few more. So... it's not unusual, and when I was growing up, we actually used to get tornado warnings quite often, especially in the super hot, humid weather like we're having right now, but you didn't see them often. Well, there was one time when we first moved here, I will never forget the sky looked so wicked, and so I went to weather.com, I'm like, oh, what's going on? And literally, for my zip code... and I've never seen this before or since, they literally had the little weather icon for my zip code was a tornado, and next to it, for like your current weather, what's going on in your location. And the description was funnel cloud. And you could see it. You definitely could see it. I mean, it was black, 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 black. It was coming, but they seemed to think that there was a funnel cloud in my local area, and I didn't see it. You could just see how wicked the sky was. I mean, it looked like it would drop out any minute. But anyway, okay, that's enough talking to myself about weather. Do you guys like how I did that? That was... I had to post for my show. I had to post the cup, so usually I chit-chat with everybody else. Well, today I was chit-chatting with myself about the weather to do the cup. All right, it's been about 5 days since I have really talked to you guys. I was on Saturday, but I don't think I did any news except for Iraq. And I'm not really sure I want to talk about Iraq, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff, so I'm sure I'll probably work up to where I was ranting privately yesterday, just with some of these clips, and Hillary coming out, spinning her election propaganda at dinner. Even hubby at dinner time was like, do you see this propaganda bullshit? I was like, yeah, I'm glad you do. So we'll talk about that. Yes, we pointed this out yesterday in chat. Does anyone know? Here, I'm going to pull this up. This is a good way to start the day. Did anyone know that using the Cassini spacecraft, and I'm sure a few of you in chat do now, but for those of you playing at home who aren't in chat, you won't know this. So you could spread this around as a Monday tidbit of info. Using the Cassini spacecraft, a team led by Joshua Seabree, assistant professor at the University of Northern Iowa, has developed a new recipe that captured the key, quote-unquote, flavors of Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The researchers mixed the two most common gases in Titan, nitrogen and methane, and then added benzene and other chemicals, and after many attempts, they managed to develop a mixture that matched the special signature registered by Cassini. This is the closest anyone has come to our knowledge to recreating the lab experience with this particular feature seen in the Cassini data, he told Gizmodo. So what they discovered was Titan, one of Saturn's moons, using their new smelloscope idea, actually smells like farts and gasoline. Oh, so I don't think we're moving to Titan. You know, they've been looking at Europa, I believe, is a good candidate, as well as, it's too early and I've only had about 2 sips, but I know all of Saturn's and Jupiter's moons, which is the one that has all the ice on it. The one with the ice on it is the one that they're really thinking that we should go visit. But I don't remember, and it's too early. And I have a sinus infection, so please excuse me. Hold on. Moon with ice on it. Google's so awesome now. Europa! It is. Europa's the one with all the ice. Which, of course, Thomas Dolby did that song. That was one of my favorite 80s tunes. I think Europa is a good candidate, actually. Has a lot of the components for life on it. Oh, here. Wait.
Europa.
That was Wikipedia. Good thing that they have someone saying it for me, because I wouldn't be able to pronounce that. That's one of Jupiter's moons. Why are they calling it Jupiter 2? What's that all of? It says Europa, and then in parentheses, Jupiter 2. Why are they calling Jupiter 2? I mean, is that like, are they pulling some whacked out shit like they did demoting Pluto from being a planet? So I gotta tell you, that still pisses me off. I saw recently, there was a story where some university professor had tried to get oh God, see, it's still too early for me to start spitting out facts. Tyson, the astronomer, whatever his Degrassi, I think it was Degrassi, Tyson, right? Is that his name? See? Hold on. Grassy Tyson. My synapses don't connect together in the morning. Neil deGrasse Tyson. See, I had all the parts. So they were challenging Tyson to a debate because I guess Tyson says that Pluto is not a planet. He's all for it. And I mean, he's about the same age, probably maybe a little bit younger, about the same age as me. Hey, we learned Pluto was a planet. Pluto is the 9th planet. How can you be a planet one day and then the next day you're not a planet? Okay, that's bullshit. Pluto is a planet. They have all of these subplanets. What are they calling them? Mini planets, micro planets now. If you've looked at a diagram of our solar system, which, you know, I took astronomy in college. My second degree was going to be in physics, and there were many reasons why I wanted to get a physics degree, but one of them was because that's all part of outer space. But the other reason is that it's the science behind everything, right? I mean, it's the science why things move and why things rotate and why, you know, we have gravity, and it's the science of nature. So I really thought that was kind of important, and I would like to understand it very well. But part of that was taking university astronomy courses, which was full of physics, but it was amazing. We had a really nice observatory on campus, too. And my professor had been teaching for like 35 years. Dr. Brink was his name. He was great. He really was great. He turned me on to mini black holes back in the late 80s. And I mean, I can't believe they're still talking about them now as potential wormholes and things of that nature. But he was pretty certain that mini black holes existed. Hold on 1 second. I have my sounds on. Okay. So anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, what was my point? I hate that now when that happens. Taking physics in college, Dr. Brink, mini black holes. I don't remember. Why did I take physics? I don't know. That totally made me lose my train of thought. Tyson. So, I see this thing the other day that someone at New York University, I believe, or one of the city universities in New York, which I think that's where Michu works, is the city university of New York. But somebody was challenging Tyson to a debate about Pluto. And he turned it down. Now, come on. You know, I call Michu a shill because I see him now every chance he gets. He's on the Science Channel pimping transhumanism as the next evolution of man. Well, now I'm going to say bullshit to Tyson, too. You know, if you're so right about Pluto not being a planet, then why would you not go out there and debate it? Pluto was always a planet. And I got to tell you what else. You know, for anyone who's paid attention to astronomy, you know that they've said for a long time that there is something else outside of Pluto. And the reason why they said that is because it's exactly how they found Pluto is when they were studying. And actually, that's exactly how they found Neptune, right? Neptune's the one before Pluto. When they had, now what do you say, Uranus or Uranus? If my daughter had this solar system thing that had all the planets in its orbits when she was really young, and it had a little thing where you push the button and it would talk. And I love when it got there because it says Uranus. I'm like, oh, come on, it's Uranus. That's how they taught it to us. But when they had Uranus, and they, which it does sound horrible, but whatever, that's what it's called. When they had Uranus and they found Neptune, it was because there was a wobble in Uranus. It was from the gravitational pull that was pulling between this other heavenly body out on the outside and the sun on the inside. And then when they found Pluto, that's exactly how they found it as well. There was, when they looked at the mathematics, the physics that between its mass and its orbit and its position and the other heavenly bodies around it, the way it was acting and reacting says there should have been something else out there. And sure, lo and behold, there it was. Well, Pluto does the same thing. So they're pretty certain that there's another body out there. But those, I wanted to go really quick because the new solar system maps have all of these minor planets on them. I think that's what they call them. Solar system map. And there's one out there called Ceres. Did you know we had a planet named Ceres in the solar system? I know I didn't, and not until very recently. And here's the thing. I have subscribed to all the science magazines. I mean, my dad will attest. Growing up, I had Discover magazine. I mean, that was all I wanted to do when I got out of college was be a writer for Discover magazine. That was my dream at 18. Scientific American, I mean, late 80s. I'm sitting there with my nose in that while all my friends are out partying their asses off at a Grateful Dead concert, you know? But I've paid in Cosmos. I mean, I was a huge Carl Sagan fan. I've really been, and I would every summer night, I was outside, I'd sleep outside growing up every single night of the summer that it wasn't raining because we had this amazing view. I had the Lake Erie was right across the street, so there was no city lighting to interrupt my view back in those days down there. And we were kind of out in the boonies. Now it's kind of the suburbs, but back then it was the boonies. And you just had this amazing, huge sky full of blackness and stars. So my cat, my dogs, me, sometimes my sister, but even when I got older, even when I was in college and I was long gone, I would still go back to my parents' house on the weekends. And I would still go back to my parents' house on the weekends just to sleep outside and watch the sky in the middle of the night. And I forgot my point again because somebody's messaging me, and I can't do that when I'm by myself because I just totally lose my train of thought. See, you can do that when you're on the radio with somebody else because they can kind of carry the conversation for a minute and remind you if you forget what you were talking about. But if you're on all by yourself and someone drops you a message and you look at it for 1 second, at least for me, everything in my brain goes poof. And that is the end of that. Anyway, I was looking at the solar system map. Let me see if I can find it. Because there was this planet called Ceres, Ceres, and it is one of the minor planets. And, dwarf planets, that's what they are. And, in my personal opinion, these dwarf planets almost look to me like they are large asteroids. But there are a few of them, and see, I want to take a look. It's an infographic. It's a really nice one, too. One of those, I believe, maybe even more than one, but I thought at least one of them had a bunch of moons. I mean, Pluto's got a whole ton of moons. Here's my thing. If it's got moons, it's got to be a planet. It's no minor planet bullshit. It's got moons. And as a matter of fact, Pluto has more moons than Earth does. So how can it not be a planet? I say we demote Earth then. Let's demote Earth. Earth only has one moon. And as a matter of fact, they certainly think, and I don't know if I believe this or not. I mean, it could have been captured out of, some passing object. It could have been out of the Oort cloud. It could have been out of the asteroid belt. Or something could have come into our orbit, like Nibiru, and hit us, Tiamat, and made a big part of the Earth spew out, and then it got caught in our orbit and became a moon. And that, as a matter of fact, that's what they're thinking is more likely. I don't know. I think the jury's out on that for me. Because I would think it would be more likely to be able to capture objects as they passed or got too close than it would be to have half of our planet smashed while it was still molten, form a perfect ball, and then continue to rotate around us. If you really think about, I took enough physics to know, when you play pool, you shoot a ball, and it hits the other balls, and they all go in different directions. They don't get sucked back and start revolving around the cue ball. So how if something big hit Earth while it was molten and it knocked a big chunk out of Earth, which they say became the moon, why didn't that get knocked out into the orbit of Venus or something? Right? Well, how did it stay here in our orbit and not go careening out in front of the large body that hit us? Right? That is what physics would dictate. So I don't know. I still call bullshit. But who knows? Maybe we'll never know. All right, I'm going to get off this subject. I was to this. How many minutes? 22 minutes because Titan smells like farts and gasoline. Oh, so I wanted to share a comment with you. An old friend of mine, who I don't usually hear from, actually commented on that post. I wanted to share that with you because it actually gave me a good laugh yesterday. And his post says, "That's what it usually smells like when I'm mowing my lawn." Oh, it was a good one. All right. So, solar system infographic. If I can find it for you, I will drop it. Because there was a really great new large solar system map that included, I want high resolution, not dinkies, that included all of the minor planets, and I was just absolutely floored. I'm like, where the hell did all these planets come from? Yet on the flip side, you're teaching my kid there's only 8 major planets. She knows. I told her, don't let them ever tell you that Pluto is not a planet. And then maybe on a test, they might tell you that you got to write the number 8. So do it, because they tell you. But always remember there's 9. So she knows. I don't know. I might have to find this later for you guys because I'm not having any success. But there is a really, really, really awesome infographic out there. You could probably just go to Google, search infographic solar system, and maybe even minor planets. That would probably give it to you. But they have names for all of them, too. Kind of whacked out. All right, I'm scrolling down through my personal news because these are all my special stories that nobody cares about, so I share with you. From me to you. You guys should feel special. Here's a good one. This is out of another science magazine. Actually, the same one as Titan smelling like farts and gasoline. Beer waste. Now, you guys know, I occasionally like a beer. I don't drink beer anywhere near what I used to in college, that's for sure. And, you know, as you get older, you kind of become a lightweight. So all it takes me is one. One of the good ones, though. None of that American macro brew 4% crap full of formaldehyde. That stuff will kill ya. And, hey, even Food Babe says so now. So if you don't believe me, but if you get some good craft stuff that is made from a small brewery without any bullshit in it, you just got water and hops and yeast, and it's all natural, and it's amazing, and I don't know, I've seen them go anywhere from, you know, a low of maybe 5 to a high. The highest one that I've seen, and I have one in my fridge right now, but I'm afraid to try it, is 11%. One of these days, though, and they come in multi-sizes. They come in cans, which are pretty damn good. I didn't think I'd like cans because I hate cans in regular beer, but craft cans are pretty damn tasty because it keeps them nice and foamy and fresh. They have regular cans. They have tall boys. And then in bottles, you have a 12-ounce and a 22-ounce. So that 11%er is a 22-ounce. So, guys, I'll have to save that for a special occasion because I could guarantee you one of those and Paul will be finding me out here at 6 a.m. sleeping in my chair. But beer is very healthy for you if you don't overdo it. I mean, there are all kinds of good things in there that keep your body moving, keep your blood going. I can guarantee you that it helps thin your blood, at least the alcohol. I know my grandfather, he drank his whole life, and then my grandparents owned a bar. And at the end of his life, he decided to go on this health kick, and he stopped drinking and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, he had a heart attack first, shortly thereafter. Then he had a massive stroke, and then he had the one that did him in. And you know, it was really ugly, and I am pretty certain that, he ate all that greasy food all of his life. He used to eat, like, whole salamis and make Polish sausage soup, Polish sausage grease soup with, like, cabbage and stuff. And that was great. I mean, that was the way everyone ate back in those days. But it did him in, and I am pretty certain that it was the alcohol that was keeping his blood thin. And then when he quit, that was it for him. And I'm not encouraging anyone to drink alcohol if you can't. But I got to say, I mean, I went for many, many, many years, and I didn't drink after I had my daughter. And I really enjoy it, and especially when you don't need to do it to excess. When I can have one beer and get a great buzz and I can nurse it even if it's nice and icy cold. I got a special glass, and if I can nurse it for 45 minutes or so, it's perfect. I can unwind. There's all kinds of different flavors. There's probably 20 different styles. The stouts are delicious. That's like a food. It's great. So I am not advocating people go out and drink, but I am suggesting that if you get a chance and you see any local craft beers, there's local breweries all over the country, maybe try one. And you can buy them as singles, by the way. They're a little expensive. They usually sell them in 4-packs, sometimes 6s, but you can buy them as singles for like $2, $3 for a bottle to give it a try. And I got to tell you, you will not be sorry. Trust me. Very, very good. But anyway, so that is why I took some interest in the story. That and the fact that it also had to do with building body parts. Beer waste can be used to make bones. What? Yes, beer waste can be treated and used as bone grafts, implants, and coatings for prostheses. So, hey, beer drinkers of the world, unite. Because look at that, we could be helping people with hip implants. Beer waste contains phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and silica, which are the main components found in bones. It's usually used to feed animals, but scientists have come up with a better use. Bone and joint replacements are made from processed sheep bones, or expensive synthetic materials, but researchers have discovered that beer waste can actually be used as a scaffold to promote bone regeneration, such as bone grafts and as coatings for prostheses. Once beer waste has been treated, it is porous, flexible, and sturdy, and these qualities make it suitable for bone stem cells to grow. And because it is organic and no toxic substances are added to the mix, it dissolves once the bone has grown back. Now, how crazy is that? And having a mother and a sister who both have had their hips done, this is pretty damn interesting. In the paper published in the journal RSC Advances, the researchers explain, quote, their characteristics can be tailored for use as replacement candidates in osteoporotic treatments, coatings for prostheses, bone grafts, and dental implants, for example, with the being greater cost effective than conventional scaffolding and eliminating the use of non-renewable raw materials or toxic substances in their preparation. See? I told you beer is all natural, and it can even be used to make prostheses. Look at this shit. All the more reason to drink good craft beer. The new material is 5 to 500 microns in diameter, and its porosity is very similar to the one found in spongy bone, a type of calcium tissue that makes up bones in the human body and facilitates the formation of blood vessels after the bone implant. The researchers are still perfecting the technique, but soon spare bones will be made out of beer. So all I got to say to that is friggin' awesome. I'm going to drop that into chat for everybody. So we got beer bone implants. Who knew? No, here, I'm going to drop that Smell-O-Vision article too. So those are 2 new facts that you can go to the water cooler and share with your friends. Titan smells like gasoline and farts. and the leftovers from beer can be used to make prostheses. All right, here's my other health news. And I think we saw some basics on this. I know there's a video, too. So if I can find where I put the video, maybe we'll play that a little bit later. But again, the same science publication. This is the Science Alert out of Australia. They actually have jumped to the forefront lately with stories. I haven't seen much out of phys.org lately. At least in my feed, I haven't. Doesn't mean anything. Facebook blocks feeds forever until one day you go, hey, whatever happened to? But they just disappear for a while. All right, here. Scientists have created a bionic pancreas that outperforms insulin pumps. So there you go. The bionic pancreas is here, which actually is pretty awesome, to tell you the truth. I had a good friend who grew up next door to me. Oh, God, I think they found out when she was probably like 5 or 6 that she was diabetic. It was really horrible because a little kid having to get shots every day of insulin was awful, and I remember her crying. You know, she got used to it, but she had to live her whole life as a diabetic and had to give herself injections, and then you have the choice of getting a pump, which requires an incision. I don't know where they put the pump, if they actually put it near where the pancreas is, or if it can go, like, you know, under the skin, like Depo-Provera inserts or something, but this will do it one better. It says clinical trials have shown that a smartphone-linked artificial pancreas could help free patients with type 1 diabetes from needing to regulate their blood glucose levels. The results showed that a type 1 diabetic who used the bionic pancreas were more likely to have blood glucose levels consistently within the normal range than those who used the fingerstick test and manually injected insulin. When I was pregnant, I went gestational diabetic, so I had to do that 3 times a day with the blood prick and the glucose meter. And I got to tell you, first of all, there's a lot of things that we don't realize just with our eating habits, how much they affect our blood sugar levels. And your blood sugar level affects your mood directly. It also affects your weight, and it affects how your body works. And I have this really horrible habit, and that is I get up in the morning, I pour myself a cup of coffee, I come downstairs, and I do my thing until about 4 o'clock. Then I go up, I make a snack for my daughter, I get her started on her homework, then I come back down and I work down here till dinner. At dinner, I eat. That is the first time I have eaten in the day, is at 6 o'clock at night. And it's actually the only time I eat during the day, unless I get the munchies at like 2 a.m. Absolute worst freaking habit you can have. And I've always been like that, except when I was gestationally diabetic and I was pregnant, because you had to eat like 6 meals a day or something. I believe so. It was like your 3 meals, plus at least 2 snacks, sometimes 3 or 4. So you're 6 to 8 meals of small meals a day. But what that does, and you can watch it, especially if you're doing your blood prick all the time, is it levels out your blood sugar levels if you keep constant nutrition coming into your body. Doing it the way I do it gives you like these crazy highs and lows that you ride. And I've been doing that stuff for 30 years, so I'm pretty used to it. But I guess it is one of the most unhealthy habits you could have. So let my mistakes be a lesson to you. Don't eat just 1 meal a day at 6 p.m. All right, we might have to play a clip here in a minute, and I might, let me see if I can find this, because I have to blow my nose. The sinus infection is, it was only half my face. I had it just in half my sinus, and then I had that, my very, very, very back molar cracked at Christmas time. And I think it's because I clenched my teeth really bad. Let me think of where this is before. I clenched my teeth at night, and I've cracked a couple of my teeth. As they get older, and we had a dentist who liked to scam the insurance companies. Oh, yeah, I do have a video. By sucking my dad's great dental insurance dry. I've talked about this before. Both my sister and I had every tooth baby tooth and then adult tooth, with the entire center drilled out, all of our molars, and filled with big fat amalgam fillings. And like I've said before on the show, I don't ever remember, especially for every single one of those teeth. I had one bad tooth when I was a kid. But I don't ever remember going to my mother 20 times going, Mommy, my tooth hurts so bad, there's a big hole in it. That never happened. So why is every freaking tooth in my mouth drilled out the entire center and full of amalgam? It's bullshit. So what's happening now that I'm getting older, not only have I been walking around all these years with mercury leaching out of my mouth, but your teeth get brittle as you get older. And so the entire center of the tooth is a big old metal piece that is, as time progresses and those amalgam fillings get older, they tend to shrink. And when they shrink, they end up falling out. And when they fall out, then the tooth is at great risk for cracking. And I cracked actually 2 teeth in half that way. The filling came out, and I didn't get to it immediately to my dentist. And I must have been clenching, and the whole tooth cracked in half. So there was nothing left. Just this little nibble of tooth. So this last one, the whole edge cracked off, and there was no putting a filling or anything on that. So what they had to do again is put another crown on. So I had that done the other day, but what you got to worry about when they do dental work is that, number one, even if it's not an amalgam filling, anytime that they're digging around in your teeth or you're flossing, just know that there's some pretty nasty bacteria that lives in your mouth, and they've found a direct connection between that nasty bacteria in your mouth and potential heart problems in the future. That's why anyone who has a hole in their heart and they go to get dental work done, or they got some heart issues, your doctor is going to want you on antibiotics before you get that dental work done. And that is because you could have some serious problems if that bacteria gets near your heart. But you got to worry when they're doing dental work, and you got to be so careful. Don't swallow any of the shit that they're working on in your mouth. But when they're in there for an hour and a half with all these things and blah, 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 and we got the surgeon, he wasn't really a surgeon, but my dentist, where he's got his zoomy goggles on and his face mask, and he's got his assistant, and they both got stuff going on in there, and you know that they're doing some serious stuff. So that tooth that they worked on was a big amalgam filling, and they ground it right down to a little nib, and now I got the temporary crown on. I'm waiting for my my replacement tooth to be made as I get old. But the reason why I'm mentioning that was because before I went for the work on my tooth, I really was just feeling like I was getting a little bit of a sinus infection on the left-hand side. A lot of times it has to do with allergies, as everything swells up, right? Nothing can flow properly, and especially if you're dehydrated. Drink a lot of water. That is a number one thing I've learned for sinus problems. The less water you drink, the more sinus problems you have, and it's because stuff can't drain. And when stuff can't drain, bacteria sits in there and turns into an infection. If you don't want to take antibiotics, which I was a guinea pig my entire life, but that's why. Because I've had all these major sinus issues, and I think it's because I never drank enough water. It's that simple. It took me 46 years to figure that out. No doctor ever told me that shit. But the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I had a very mild infection. You could feel it. It was irritating, but if you blow, it would go away for a while. That's the secret. Make sure you keep anything that's in there that can collect bacteria, keep it out of there. And I went for the dental appointment. I wake up the next day, and now it's full-blown. It's in both sinuses. It's in my ears, so it's kind of muffled hearing now. And yesterday I actually had a fever. I was feeling really warm and really out of it. And I'm certain it had to do with the fact that they launched, I probably got some heavy metals in me to begin with, but I'm sure that there was also all kinds of bacteria down under there that my body is now trying to fight off and deal with. So I just pumped up on some extra goodness, vitamins and fruit and turmeric and some ginger yesterday. But anyway, long story. So let that be a warning if you go to the dentist. I would highly recommend it if you can afford it. If you can afford to get porcelain fillings put in and get those old amalgams out, I would. I've read so many horrible things about those leaching and potential problems that people think they cause, one of them being autoimmune diseases. And remember, it's also a heavy metal. I mean, is that heavy metal getting in your brain? You know, what's happening to that? And with an entire mouthful, and I mean, especially now, I'm seeing them all deteriorate. I want these fuckers out of my mouth. I think I'm down to just a few left, actually, over the last 6 or 8 years as my teeth have been cracking, which is horrible. And these fillings have been falling out. I've been getting them all replaced. So my mouth almost looks normal now when I open it up. I don't look like Jaws from freaking James Bond. I never look like Jaws. But if I open my mouth, I did. I mean, my whole mouth was full of silver. It looked horrible. Now it's all pretty and white again. Actually, it looks kind of weird because I'm kind of used to it with all silver. But it looks all pretty. All right, here. I have a video on the bionic pancreas to get back to that original story. So I'm going to play that so I can blow my nose, and then we'll be back. All right, here you go. Maybe. Hopefully. My other computer was like dead in the water when I came out here, but hopefully this one will work. Damn it! I don't know. Well, I might have to sing then. Hold on. Oh, here comes this China. Let's go! I need to get trumpets. Soundboard with trumpets with the introduction.
A study published in today's journal Pediatrics finds caffeine has different effects on boys and girls after they reach puberty. Researchers say girls experience different heart rate and blood pressure changes than boys. Scientists say more study is needed to figure out why there's a difference and whether hormones play a role. Another study in pediatrics finds children who are hospitalized for asthma are less likely to be readmitted if they follow up with their doctors. Asthma is a leading cause of hospital admissions for children, so experts say keeping up with care is key. And researchers are having success with a new device that monitors and controls glucose levels for type 1 diabetics. The bionic pancreas uses a smartphone and glucose monitor to signal an implanted pump to deliver insulin and hormones. Patients would no longer have to constantly worry about keeping track of their blood sugar. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Allison Harmelin, CBS News, New York.
All right, my nose feels much better. So I'm being told in chat that mercury does not leach out of amalgam until it reaches 300 degrees. I say bullshit. Find that for me then, because I've read a lot about this and about amalgam fillings and about people with fibromyalgia and autoimmune diseases because my whole family has been affected. The shit leaches out of your fillings. I'm absolutely serious. Find me something that says that it doesn't, and it's probably paid for by the American Dental Association, the same ones that tell you to go have your kid's mouth sprayed with an insecticide byproduct. All right, I'm going to go back to, let me close the smell-o-vision and close the beer waste. So that didn't tell you much, and it was more than just the bionic pancreas, but hold on. Now I'm distracted because I got messages. Okay. Let me get back to the insulin pump. Oh, and they even mentioned New Scientist. I got to tell you, that is one of my all-time favorite magazines. It's out of the UK. They put it out weekly. If you subscribe, it's actually pretty pricey, but you get 52 issues a year. But caution, they stack up. If you have lots of doctor's appointments or places where you go where you can sit around, kick back, and read some good, short, quick, but scientifically jam-packed articles, then it's great. But I got overwhelmed at a point because they were every single week. I couldn't keep up with them. Anyway, all right. So this article tells you a lot more than that video, so I'm going to go back to this article. The results showed that type 1 diabetics who used the bionic pancreas were more likely to have blood glucose levels consistently within the normal range than those who used a fingerstick test and then were manually injected with insulin. While these traditional methods can help type 1 diabetics to live normally with their disease, they require constant attention and often can result in dangerous glucose highs and lows. The new bionic pancreas, created by a team from Boston University, has a tiny removable sensor located in a thin needle, which is inserted under the skin of a patient and beams their glucose levels in real time to a smartphone app. Gotta love these new doctor smartphone apps, huh? They're going to be coming out all over. We also have the mental soundness evaluation. I also remember them back, it was probably last year already, them talking about the tricorder that they'd created for astronauts going into deep space, since there probably will not be a doctor, and it will diagnose issues before they happen and then dispatch nanotechnology into your body to go fix it before it becomes a problem. And soon, they had said that the technology will also be used on Earth. I was like, oh, I'm so damn excited. All right. The app calculates the levels of insulin or glucagon needed to balance blood sugar and tells an implanted pump to administer the required dose automatically. Before eating, patients can simply input data about their meal to have the app factored in. Other than that, the patients don't need to think about their levels. The researchers tested the device on 20 adults staying in a hotel for 5 days, free to live, eat, exercise as they please. They also monitored it on 32 adolescents who were at a summer camp for kids with diabetes. The results were compared with participants who had used traditional methods for controlling the disease. These findings, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, revealed that the bionic pancreas was much better at keeping the user level stable. The leader of the project, Ed Diamano, came up with the idea for the device after his son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. He aims to have it ready by the time his son is in college, as Rob Bohr reports in The New Scientist. These results suggest that he is on track for that goal. The performance of our system in both adults and adolescents exceeds our expectations under very challenging real-world conditions, he said in a press release. Previous research has shown that by keeping blood glucose levels in that normal range, patients can avoid complications such as heart, kidney, and eye disease. The next step will be real-world testing. Scientists hope that within the next few years, the devices will be available to a broader range of patients. So what do you think about that? I mean, honestly, if we can use this mad science gone mad technology for good, like this doesn't seem like it's too out there and it's just using your phone to broadcast your results, and we don't, at least yet, have anyone hijacking your data to see whether or not you took your meds and automatically injecting you if your numbers weren't up. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing if it enables us to have better control over our health and keep the cost down. You know, once you have something like this, you're not going to need syringes anymore or any of that other bullshit. Probably at some point, they'll have just a little, like a PICC line where you could do like a refill cartridge or something for the insulin. But it's once the government gets involved, right? And they start telling you what your health should be and what you should do. And, well, you shouldn't eat sugary things then, and then your insulin wouldn't have problems. Well, no, that is not absolutely true. All right, I got one more story out of this publication. And there is a video, but it is 29 minutes long, so we will not be listening to it. But this caught my attention because I was the HP liaison, Hewlett-Packard liaison for many years. I was the lead tech out of the biggest global distributor on the planet. So HP was my baby for quite a number of years. I always paid attention to them. And I caught this yesterday. And remember, too, HP is the one who came up with one of the many versions of Smart Dust. We still haven't gotten to finished that mind control article either. And it was right when they started talking about Smart Dust. We might get back there today. And I might say, fuck Iraq, because I really am so angry over all that. And I've seen, too, a bunch of videos and a bunch of stories and a bunch of posts Now, same question I was asking Friday. If I were an Iraq vet, I would be so pissed off right now. Well, I guess they're speaking out. And they are pissed off. And they're saying exactly what I thought they've been saying. What the hell did we go there for? This is all just a big, disgusting game. And that ISIS are all our trained terrorists. The ones that we let out of all the Guantanamo-esque prisons. Let them go into Turkey. Gave them the CIA for training and Russian AK-47s. And then pushed them into Syria and said, go nuts, guys, have fun. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. And then they moved into freaking Iraq. And now they're slaughtering people and taking them cities over one by one, ping, ping, ping. And now we're going, oh, shit, they're our enemy. And, we should get back to that because it is just unbelievable now how, well, I don't want to get off topic. I want to talk about HP right now. But somebody remind me, if I get lost and I am at a lack of words for topics, remind me that I want to talk about the domestic terror last week and now the dotted line they make, beep, 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 in the dumb American public's mind to connect people who with anti-government sentiment to one of the 30 new terrorist groups that are blowing up all over the Middle East. And I could guarantee you next week, when this isn't headline news and absorbing everything, we'll have another mass shooting over here. Ha! You wait and see. All right, we're going to talk about HP's new technology. HP's new technology rethinks computer architecture. This tiny little cube. It actually looks kind of weird. The machine is 6 times more powerful than existing computational devices. HP has revealed a new machine that has the potential to revolutionize computing and cope with the massive amounts of data generated by mobile devices and the Internet of Things buzzword. Cisco started it, but I've seen it everywhere now. Google's on it. Microsoft's on it. Oh, what? They're all the globalist organizations that are trying to take global control of everything? Yes, they are. So let's give you one nifty, pifty little device where you can take everything about you and all your selfies and private stuff and put them in one big place and then plug it in somewhere where we can get easy access to it. Oh, help us out, dumb Americans. Yeah, and I like the way they put this, too. And cope with the massive amounts of data generated by mobile devices and the Internet of Things, parentheses, with a definition, a network composed of household appliances, cars, vending machines, and many other devices, on parentheses. Yeah, that damn refrigerator that's keeping all your data on how many ice cream sandwiches you ate last night. Oh, and the toilet. And I'm going to tell you, people laugh when you talk about smart toilets, but they've had them for years in Japan. Doing instant urinalyses and sending them via wireless to the internet to your doctor. It'll be Big Brother. It'll be Berry Care. And your doctor will be named Hal. And Hal will be hosted on a supercomputer from IBM. They have that already. They don't call him Hal, though. I'm trying to remember what his name was. They actually did have a name for that big supercomputer. It's the one that won the chess tourney. Now he's doing diagnoses for diseases and helping doctors on the back end. But they have them, too, where they're little bots. They're doing remote for one doctor to visit patients in 30 hospitals. It's got a little robot body with wheels. He's got a nice LCD HD display for his head. It's got, I don't remember if the one that I saw had arms, but it definitely had little trays and things so they could put stuff on it or dispense things. And the doctor remotely controls this robot. He's got a camera, and it's got probably some sort of GPS technology that you could do in building even. And he can zoom around. Bzz, 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 and go into patient rooms. He can visit all of his patients without ever leaving his sweatpants. Or the beachfront with his umbrella drink. So I see now, at some point, man, you're going to have one doctor who then, any of the basic cases, he's going to hand off to the computer doctor, the one that IBM runs. And they could even hook that up to a computer with a synthesized voice and some artificial intelligence asking questions. Be easy. Technology's there already. I'll guarantee you that would be easy. All right, let's continue. The machine is designed to cope with tons of information by using clusters of special purpose cores that are more efficient than generalized ones. It is wired with photonics, so they are toying with some sort of quantum instead of copper. Well, no, if it's wired, actually, quantum is in the actual way the basic thinking processes of the machine work. So instead of zeros and ones, it's light and darks. And the wiring we are talking about, whether you have copper cabling, yeah, I'm hearing that beep too, by the way, guys. Somebody was asking about that on air the other day, if they were hearing the beep. That's an FBI recording, is what it sounds like to me. Hi, guys. Hi, Alphabet Agencies. I hope you're enjoying my show. It's, it's okay when I'm awake. Hope you can follow me. When you wire with photonics, basically you're using fiber optic cabling is what you're doing. Fiber optic cabling is better, signal is better, speed is faster, and it's still tappable, but it is a lot less tappable. And you can do things such as multiplexing in that, which makes it like exponentially faster than just basic gigabit. It says it's wired with photonics instead of copper wires, meaning that it consumes 80 times less energy and it is much faster. Wow, I didn't realize that photonics was less energy intensive. I'd need to look at that because typically, back in my day, I used to configure large core optical routers and switches. So that most certainly was not lower power. You probably had 3 big-ass failover power supplies in there and, thousands. Maybe not thousands on the one box. There was thousands. But typically, you'd probably have, in a big configuration, for an entire city, you probably would have a few hundred optical connections connecting all your hubs together. So that most certainly didn't save power, but I guess HP says so, so I believe him. According to HP, it can handle up to, here we go guys, put on a seatbelt, 160 petabytes of data in 250 nanoseconds. The machine is 6 times more powerful than any existing servers. However, the first models powered by this technology will not be commercially available until 2018. This might be something that we look at one of these days because I really want to understand. This is a little handheld, tiny device. So they must have some real major mobile CPUs going on in there. I mean, if you've ever seen a server that is for an enterprise environment where you're doing clustering, and that's what they're talking about doing here, you're talking about a big-ass mother. Okay. I used to configure servers with 8 and 16 processors in them, and then we would cluster those together. So, and then sometimes you would even be doing, you had failover clustering and then you had load balancing for huge mega amounts of traffic. And, I mean, that's some big-ass shit. So you could have a rack mount machine. There were probably some heat issues, but in the big ones, I mean, still a rack mount, if you have ever seen a rack, a 19-inch rack, it's still a long and a wide box, even though it might be only 1 or 3 U high. So it's skinny, but it's still a wide machine. This looks like a little bit bigger than a Rubik's Cube, maybe 2 Rubik's Cubes put together. So that's pretty whacked out that it could be doing 160 petabytes in 250 nanoseconds. So you know what, it doesn't say here, and like I said, there's a 29-minute video that goes along with this. I need to watch that video because I would not be surprised if there wasn't some sort of Department of Defense or DARPA or, brain project that is involved with that. All right, I'm bored now. I think. Oh, hey, there's the FBI again. Hi, beep. Let me just scroll just a little bit. I think we did the woman partying at her own funeral. Oh, wait. Actually, this one's kind of crazy. Let's get on to some robots. This is, again, the same group that Science Alert out of Australia, but this really scared me. And my good friend that I talk with, he's very pro-robot. I'm pro-robot when it doesn't involve government. I'm pro-robot when it doesn't connect to DARPA or some large data center that will be evaluating my 320 points of facial recognition as well as the tone and the inflection of my voice to determine whether or not I'm irritated. Did you hear that one? That was an irritation growl. They're probably profiling me right now via my show. That's what those beeps are. They're taking snapshots. Okay, she was happy in that one. Beep. They are. They're probably doing my voice print. Because then they can identify me on every phone call I ever make. I might have to get a voice changer, guys. That would be kind of funny, actually. I can broadcast the show doing the voice of Satan. They do have that one. One of the guys on the old network actually had one of those. And he could do the voice of hell. All right, it would be funny to read stories like this or DARPA stories in that voice. All right, this is going to be the last science story I do, and then I am going to go look at the correlation between domestic terrorists and Middle Eastern terrorists and how in the dumb Americans' minds we are now all one and the same because, hey, the TV told me so. All right, Dr. Octopus Robotic Arms takes center stage at International Conference. Yes, Dr. Octopus Arms. Let's get one of those for Christmas. Octopuses and spiders have a point. 2 arms really aren't enough. Now, I don't know, man. If I had another set of arms that could type and do shit while I was doing something else, might be kind of neat. But again, I could guarantee you the end result for these will not be to use for good. And it's good old MIT that's working on these, so DARPA funding, I'm sure. MIT researchers have created a set of robotic arms that can think for themselves. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I hear that ending well. These arms aren't quite the Spider-Man crushing claws of Dr. Octopus, but I bet they could be. It says they aren't mind-controlled for one thing. They are, however, the closest things we have to Marvel's supervillain technology. Oh, that makes me feel so warm and fuzzy. These robotic appendages, or supernumerary robotic limbs as they are called, are programmed to supplement human strength by anticipating the needs of the user. If the wearer attempts to hold up a heavy object, the arms will automatically swing out to assist. Hey, my dad could use a set of these. He's always trying to lift heavy shit that's going to roach him bad. He could use a pair of Super Dr. Octopus arms attached to his shoulders. The research is funded by Boeing. All right, some military-industrial complex. And the arms are specifically designed to help with heavy lifting tasks in aircraft construction. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm sure we will not see these on the battlefield at some point in the future or attached to police officers who could be like, you know, like when you were a kid and you were picking on your older brother or cousin and you go over there and you're being annoying and their arms are way longer than yours so they could just like hold you from the top of the head as you're swinging out 10 feet away and they're going boom, 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 and they can't get you because you're holding them with your long arm length. Yeah, I see that being very handy for police officers. The robot arms were designed and built by PhD candidates Federico Paratalelli and Baldwin Lorenz and Professor Harry Assad at MIT's Abeldorf I don't know, Abelhoff Laboratory of Information Systems and Technology. The team unveiled their prototype Dr. Octopus arms at the IEEE International Conference on Robotics and Automation in Hong Kong this month. The limbs work by detecting the motion of the wearer's arms and using this information to adopt appropriate behaviors. Peretti, a researcher on the project, explained to Science Alert, quote, the robot coordinates with the human user. It is not directly controlled by the user. Oh, that's scarier still. But it is not completely autonomous either. My colleague, Baldwin Lawrence, developed an algorithm that uses the human's hand and head motion as inputs. Once it gets these signals, the robot decides what to do based on previous training data recorded with the two workers, a leader and a follower. Of course, the robot assumes the role of the follower. Guys, do you see a problem with this? Like, okay, so it makes decisions using an AI algorithm based on what you're currently doing with your hands. Well, what if you're beating the shit out of somebody? You know what I mean? Like, this is not good. Developing the robotic arms was a challenge. According to Peretti, they demanded, quote, the design and manufacturing of a lightweight, safe, and easy-to-wear robot and the development of a control scheme that let the user control the extra robotic arms as if they were part of his or her own body. The robotic arms' abilities are limited at the moment, but with a little more work, they could be adept at performing various tasks and becoming integral in human work. But how do the limbs reduce the effort required to lift objects if they are attached to a worker's shoulders? Doesn't the weight just get transferred? Peretti says that is not the case. The robotic limbs can compensate for their own weight and for the weight of the user using an algorithm that finds the optimal configuration to carry weight of the human given any available contact points with the environment. It is lightweight, and its center of mass is very close to the hip of the human user. This means that the robot feels like a hiking backpack. It unloads its weight directly on the legs of the user, avoiding fatigue at the shoulders and on the spine. And there is a 34-second video here. I am not sure if there's any talking or if they're just going to show you, but hold on one second and we will see.
Go.
Oh, it's the arms mimicking him. Yeah, that's all it's doing. So here, that was the end of the article. I will drop that in the chat. So are we all going to be like, what's the Indian god with all the arms? Like Vishnu? I think so. I think it's Vishnu with the 4 arms. I don't know. It's kind of nutty. Right now, they don't look like much. They don't even have hands or claws or anything. The video is at the bottom of that article, but I bet at some point they will. Yeah, here we go. I'll tell you what. I have 2 more stories, and then we're going to cut over. I got a story posted here from Madison about the Pentagon, and that will get us back into where I want to go later. So here, this is a video. I don't know how long it is, but I want to check it out because it involves Chicago with Rahm Emanuel. That's his town. Rahm, every time I see that man, he just creeps me out. First of all, he's just such a creepy-looking dude. But this involves robots in Chicago, so I had to pay attention. Little robots help Chicago students dream big. So let's see the warm and fuzzy robot story now. Only 4 people...
For 12-year-old Oscar Yannick,
programming a robot to do anything from parallel parking to following a flashlight is no big deal.
Once you grasp it, there's an infinite amount of possibilities that you can do.
And now with the help of Chicago Public Libraries, Yannick's love of programming has no limits except perhaps a due date. Google recently donated 500 Finch robots created at Carnegie Mellon to introduce kids of all ages to coding. Anyone can check out a robot for up to 3 weeks. It's the first program of its kind in the country. To see, have it be these big high-level ideas out of these, really amazing institutions, but then have, our neighborhood kids be able to come in and use them is really just incredible. While some kids are satisfied just playing video games, these code freaks, as they call themselves, want to be the ones in control.
If you make your own game, you can actually modify it to how you like it.
Parents say it's important for kids to have access and to learn coding.
I really think that it's the social justice issue of our time, because really without experience in computer science, I think we're limiting our children.
For these 7th graders, the robots are just the beginning.
Coding is really amazing with what you can do with it.
A little device helping them dream big. Priya Sridhar, The Associated Press.
So I don't know. That was just a feel-good robot story, and they're indoctrinating our children into being very, very comfortable with robots. And like I've said, I don't have issues with robots as long as they were friendly and not controlled by some greater power that is going to enslave us all. I mean, if you guys have listened to my show, and I know most of you have, we've gone through all the DARPA stuff. We've looked at the synthetic biology. There's so much more, too, if you're paying attention to my Before the First Cup dystopia news. Down below the Before the First Cup chat page, you will see that is where I post most of those stories. I have a bunch on my personal page I need to share over there today. But you see what they are doing is creating this brain project and trying to figure out how to merge man and machine. And that, to me, is not a happy way to be involved with robots. No, thank you. I don't want robotic parts in my body. There's another beep. Hi, FBI. That's really irritating. Why don't you put it on silent? What was I saying? I don't want it integrated with my body. Honestly, I like being a biological organism. Synthetic can be for the people who want to be the experiments. There should be a choice, and I don't want to be the experiment, just like the GMO bananas they talked about yesterday. Yes, they even freely admitted they will be testing them on the American public, but they have been testing GMOs on us without our knowledge for a couple of decades now, at least. All right. And on that note, yes. Does any of it matter at all?
Plant and animal extinctions are happening at a rate 1,000 times greater than before humans walked the earth. This, according to new research published in the journal Science this week. The planet has been through 5 major extinctions before, and scientists now think we're on the cusp of a 6th. Earlier, I spoke with lead researcher Stuart Pym of Duke University.
60 million years ago, an enormous asteroid plowed into the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. I wouldn't want to be here in Miami when that happened. It sterilized much of North America and eliminated the dinosaurs. That kind of catastrophe will be what will happen over the next 100 years if we don't do something about the species extinction crisis. We will leave to our children and our grandchildren a much depleted planet.
So how do we know about the rate of extinction since humans have only been on the planet for a certain period of time?
Well, there's 2 parts to this. One of them is what's happening now, at least what's happening over the last, 50 to 100 years. And we can follow species from when we first learned about them to the present and see what fraction of them are dying off. And they're dying off at a pretty hefty rate. Working out what happened before humans came along is a little bit more difficult. But the fossil record can tell us a lot about that. We also learn a lot from their DNA, from the molecular evidence of how fast species are born and how fast they die off. And it's comparing those two things, what's happening to species now with what happened in the geological past, that allowed us to come up with this statement of how fast species are going extinct.
So help us put this startling extinction number in perspective a bit.
Extinction is a death rate. We're used to thinking of human beings dying off at the rate of 1 or 2 people per 100 per year. Species ought to die off at the rate of about 1 species in 10 million every year. What's happening is species are going extinct at the rate of 100 to 1,000 species extinctions per million species. And that's a rate that's very, very much higher than we thought it was.
And what's causing these extinctions? Is it humans? Is it climate?
We are the ultimate problem. There are 7 billion people on the planet. We tend to destroy critical habitats where species live. We tend to be warming the planet. We tend to be very careless about moving species around the planet to places where they don't belong and where they can be pests.
One of the things you mentioned in your paper is that people are assisting in conservation efforts with technology already in their hands today.
Absolutely. There are millions of people around the world who are passionate about orchids, about frogs, about birds, about dragonflies. And that crowdsourcing is giving us an enormous amount of detailed information about where species are. And we can use that detailed information to set very precise, very crisp conservation priorities. It helps us know where we need to act, where we need to invest our scarce conservation dollars.
Stuart Pym of Duke University, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
You know, the thing is, I know there's probably going to be a lot of you. He said some things that were buzzwords that we know are lies about climate and whatever. But the end result of a great mass extinction, I don't think is bullshit, guys. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of it was our fault. And I don't care who says it wasn't, because a lot of it was. Maybe not your fault and my fault, but humans in general, like evil fucking humans from Monsanto or Dow or any of these other companies that have been burning and dumping and doing these nasty, horrible experiments without our knowledge and killing all the bees, polluting all the water, polluting the air with heavy metals. They are sending us to a level of extinction. And I can guarantee you that that is coming. And I'll tell you why. Because the food chain is starting to collapse. With Fukushima, they've seen a huge decrease in the amount of plankton. Well, the plankton is the beginning of the food chain. Once the plankton's gone, everything else beyond that starts to die too, one by one. And if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the California coast right now, there are mass die-offs of all kinds of creatures right now. Start looking at the frogs. Look at Syngenta. And their, God, I don't remember the name of their insecticide, but they have one that is very similar to glyphosate. And that is what is causing the desexing of frogs. You know, look at the freaking the Persian Gulf. No, the Gulf of Mexico. After the BP spill and all that core exit. You have freaking shellfish with shells that are disintegrating and claws that are falling off. Mutated, dying. You know, we're not seeing any of that. We have tuna that's so loaded with mercury it can't be eaten. And oh, whoops, there's radiation in it too. So we can't eat any of the fish. What do you think that that's going to do with bioaccumulation when the other animals are eating that fish? You know, add to that chemtrails, dumping of highly toxic materials. And I know eventually the Earth can cure itself. Sure, after 22 million years, it'll all be gone. But we will have been long gone by that time. And the fact that the bees are dying, people, should be the last red flag. So all I'm saying is, with all this bullshit, and I know, there have been rumors about the bunkers, the underground tunnels, the bunkers here, the Russian government making bunkers for all their people, the seed vault. Seed vault is real. I think that's twofold. That actually protects, since they've let the genie out of the bottle a long time ago, that actually protects heritage seeds from being contaminated with GMO mutations. And now that they have this alien DNA that they've created, not just using CTAG, but it's got the two new proteins X and Y. Now all life will be contaminated. And I wouldn't doubt, Dr. Huber even came out, and I just saw Nick Burnaby share that Dr. Huber interview. I think it was on his March Against Monsanto page. Because I'm telling you, that was one of the most powerful interviews I had ever heard. Man has over 50 years of professional experience in dealing with diseases and farm animals and crops and things. And he's Professor Emeritus. I always say it's the wrong school. I say it's Cornell, but it's not. But it's one like Cornell. It's up there somewhere in New York. He's a very, very, very educated man, done tons of research, and when he was looking at substances in the soils around the Roundup crops, as well as in tissues from animals that were ingesting the GMO alfalfa, he was finding a substance that he specifically said was not bacterial, was not viral, and it was not fungal. He said it was some new life form. And that echoed with me since the day I heard that. And it was probably about 4 years ago I first heard that interview. And now here we're seeing ATCG, X, and Y in DNA strands as part of their new creation of all these new drugs that'll help us. Bullshit! This is alien life, plain and simple. All life on Earth in its DNA has only 4 proteins. Now you add 2 proteins. I believe that the clip had said something like 160 new substances or 1,600 new. It was a large number of all these crazy-ass new things that they could create. And as they are completing up the insect genome, they already have the human genome. They've worked on many of the animals. Don't think that there's crazy-ass splicing going on in a lab somewhere, because you know there is. And we already saw a story back from, I think it was 2011 even, maybe early 2012, about all the chimeras, 160 chimeras found in a lab in England. So they've already been doing this. And I've talked about this many times before. There are no moral codes being used in any of the science. It's anything goes. The world is a petri dish. Let's see what happens. Hey, let's tell the kids, meet you, that man merging with machine is the way to our future survival as humans. And that's what they're telling the kids. So don't think that there isn't a big agenda. Yeah, a great big extinction, and this is what I'm seeing. Let's make the environment as inhospitable as possible for biological life. Synthetic life will be able to live no problem. So, hey, guess what, people? You want to continue to live? Take the chip. Take the vaccine. Get the nanotech. Eat the GMO. Because it's the only thing you'll have. Either do it or die. At least that's my vision, and I think that that's why they're pushing stuff like this. It actually has dropped 3 of those videos from Pigmine's channel over the last few months about scientists coming out talking about the 6th great extinction coming. And I think it's all orchestrated. They have caused all this. Fukushima, that collapse of the plankton, that's the base of the food chain. BP, well, BP. And look at good old Dickie Cheney was involved in all that, and the cleanup crew, and they let that spew. I remember Kevin Costner was in there like day number 2. He had his own company. I know, let's laugh at Kevin Costner in Waterworld, but he really does care about the oceans, and he came up with this invention, and it is his own company with these barges that can suck up mass amounts of oil in a short amount of time and clean shit up like right away. And he kept going saying, I have these boats. I'll give you my boats. I'll give you my boats. I'll give you my boats. And they didn't want to talk to him. Well, if they wanted to clean it up so bad, they would have talked to him immediately. And if you also remember, they wouldn't let foreign help come in either. And then the company that came in to clean it up happened to be the company that Dick Cheney's, the BP actually, I think it was, wasn't it? Or was it Halliburton? I think it was Halliburton. Halliburton purchased right before the blowout. And that really affected me big time when that happened. That was before Fukushima. But they have real-time 24/7 live cams of that. Spewing, and I mean literally spewing oil 24/7 into the Gulf. So I left it up full screen HD day and night on my other machine. You know why? Because it's out of sight, out of mind. And they talked about it for a week on TV, and then you never heard about it again. And I didn't want to forget. And then Fukushima happened. And look, they mentioned it once, and that was the end of that. And I'm hearing that beep. That is really pissing me off. So anyway, yes, it might not be me or you in particular that has caused this, but I do believe that evil humans in charge did. And they did it intentionally. Just like now they're touching off all the chaos to destabilize everything more. End result? Well, Google's longevity project. We could live forever with an H. And we'll all be connected to a hive mind using the Internet of Things. We will be Borg, who then become Cylons, and then become the cool Cylons that actually have synthetic skin and bodies and can reincarnate at the touch of a button. All right. I am done with all... I gotta get comfy now with all my crazy news. Hey, I sure hope Desert was listening today. He complains all the time that nobody talks about space. I think I dedicated a good hour to space and technology, and I bet he wasn't even here because I don't see him in chat. So every time he complains, I'm just going to drop him a link to one of my shows. Oh, all right. Here's what I want to go into now. Now we're going to talk about some of this shit going on. I want to show how they are equating domestic terror to Middle Eastern terror. And again, dumb people with fluoridated brains will eat this right up. Because all they listen to are news bites. Madison posted a story the other day, and in the lie, Pentagon now spending millions to prepare for mass civil unrest. And I don't know if you guys saw this. This is way beyond just buying bullets, okay? The Pentagon is pumping millions of dollars annually into programs that set out to explore the factors responsible for creating civil unrest around the world, the Guardian reported this week. An article by journalist Nafiz Ahmed, published by the paper on Thursday this week, acknowledges that the little-known United States Department of Defense program titled the Minerva Research Initiative. Somebody write that down. That requires a little more research. Minerva. That reminds me of the... I always have trouble remembering names. What's the... Medusa! That's what that makes me think of. But it is the Minerva Research Initiative. Has since 2008 partnered with universities, quote, to improve the DoD's basic understanding of the social, cultural, behavioral, and political forces that shape regions of the world of strategic importance to the U.S., unquote. According to the program's website, it has recently awarded millions of dollars to be divvied up among 12 proposals from colleges that have launched projects relevant to the Pentagon's interest, including, I just mentioned them, Cornell University, Their study called, quote, Tracking Critical Mass Outbreaks and Social Contagions. There's that contagion word again, but now social media is contagious, like a virus, as well as others involving state stability, social disequilibrium, and in one instance, quote, understanding American Muslim converts in the context of security and society, unquote. The funding all comes entirely from the Department of Defense. Understanding the origin, characteristics, and implications of mass political movements, which happens to be a study out of the University of Washington, was among those selected as well. In Lowell, Massachusetts, researchers there will be using a $2 million funding from the Pentagon to study terrorist behavior. Quote, this research is intended to identify precisely how children get involved and how to interrupt and stop the process, says UMass Lowell professor Mia Bloom, telling the Lowell Sun of her initiative accepted project. Quote, the research will contrast children in terrorist groups with children soldiers and children in gangs to better understand how they are alike and how they differ. This should bother you a great deal. They are now profiling our children for terrorist tells. That is very disturbing to me. Jonathan Moyer of the Pardee Center for International Futures in the School of International Studies at the University of Denver told a campus publication at that school last month that a project he is involved with, one that now will also receive Pentagon funding, of course, will, quote, hopefully help us understand instability in middle-income countries, not just in the low-income countries. So what, are they trying to understand why people get pissed off at corrupt governments? I mean, that's an easy one. That does not require billions of dollars of Pentagon funding. I'm sure that we could probably all spit off 10 good check boxes right off the top of our heads. I lost my place. All right, I found it. Trying to pull out the Tunisias and the Libyas and the Ukraines, he told the Pardee Center, and why they might be unstable. Oh, why? Holy shit! This dude just totally is either brainwashed or stupid. Why are they unstable? Because of the fucking Pentagon. That's why. Jesus Christ, dude. Please. I'm sure that's why Madison quoted him directly. The total funds awarded for this set of projects is expected to be around $6 million in the first year and $17 million over the next 3. The Minerva Initiative acknowledged on its website. There is a hyperlink. Its website is Minerva. Everybody write this down. Homework. Minerva. D as in David. T as in Tom. I as in ice cream. C as in the cream. .mil /funded .html. So that is minerva.dtic.mil /funded.html. Writing for The Guardian, Ahmed investigated these programs further and determined that many are directly involved in mass protests and other acts of civil unrest witnessed by the world in recent years. The Cornell Project, for example, will determine, quote, the critical mass or the tipping point, of social contagions by studying their digital traces in the cases of the 2011 Egyptian Revolution, the 2011 Russian Duma elections, the 2012 Nigerian fuel subsidy crisis, and the 2013 Ghazi Park protests in Turkey. To accomplish as much, researchers say they will examine social media conversations such as Twitter posts to identify individuals mobilized in a social contagion and when they become mobilized. So look we are now a big fat freaking research project to boot. I've talked about that before. They've been using social media not only to spy on us, but as part of this artificial intelligence project as well, to try to understand human behavior. They say that they don't give any identifiable information. It's all just metadata. Until then we find out that metadata is what they were using to drop drone bombs. So and they had that tool where you could upload all your metadata from your phone, and then the app would spit out like all the things it could read about you. It could track your movements for your entire freaking day with metadata and all the people you contacted and what you did and who you talked to. So it is not insignificant data for certain. Another project, Ahmed said, is managed by the U.S. Army Research Office and focuses, quote, in large-scale movements involving more than 1,000 participants in enduring activity across 58 countries around the globe. The Pentagon is overseeing academic projects like these have raised eyebrows before and even earned the ire of the American Anthropological Association due to its concerns with where the funding comes from. Quote, the Department of Defense takes seriously its role in the security of the United States, its citizens, and allies and partners. Dr. Aaron Fitzgerald, the Minerva Initiative Director, told The Guardian, while every security challenge does not cause conflict, and every conflict does not involve the U.S. military, Minerva helps fund basic social science research that helps increase the Department of Defense's understanding of what causes instability and insecurity around the world. By better understanding these conflicts and their causes beforehand, the Department of Defense can better prepare for the dynamic future security environment. Did you hear that? The dynamic future security environment. There's that story. They're using our own money to determine that we are terrorists. That, again, is another thing that really bothers the shit out of me. So, all right, in the last less than 20 minutes or so, I want to take a look at some of this connection now back from here to what is going on over there. By the way, the cup I used today was one I've used before, but oh, I enjoyed it so much. Remember, if the world didn't suck, we would all fall off. And it's true. The TV told me so. Oh, all right. So, like I mentioned earlier today, we had all these shootings, right? We had mass shootings. We had 3 or 4 of them in one compressed week or two in the United States. We had the little Santa Ana boy who couldn't get laid. We also had the 12-year-old girls who stayed over at their friend's house for a slumber party, but had plotted to stab and kill her in the woods because the, what was he called? I forget already. I always think Cthulhu because that's who he reminds me of, but he was the Shadow Man or whatever his name was. The Slick Man, the Toaster Boy, I don't know. We then had the college shooting up in Seattle. We also had the Nevada shooting with the whack jobbies who were over at the Bundy Ranch yelling, Viva la Revolution, which they really didn't, but chucking out Gadsden flags and freaking Nazi symbols. Yeah, we all do that. I mean, that really left some pretty strong images in the mind of the American public, all compressed, coming right on the precursor before Boxer tries to ramrod now the new legislation for mental health. Lots of crazies. Oh, look, we got this app now on Android to determine whether or not you are criminally insane and can own a gun. Pushing that through at a federal level. And as this is all going on now, remember, they've been really, 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 really pushing on deciding whether or not veterans coming home can be considered domestic terrorists. And we've talked about this, the fact that PTSD sometimes requires medication. The medication would probably be some sort of psychotropic drug. The psychotropic drugs could very easily allow them to say, you don't get a gun. So what do? Well, we get all of these dots lined up. Now let's just touch the shit off in the Middle East. And like I said on Friday, if I were an Iraq vet right now, and there were 2 tours over there, I mean, I don't know if they call them tours, I was never in the military, but there were 2 big rounds, many tours within the 2 big rounds, Daddy Bush and Junior Bush, to go finish what Daddy never could. And then Barry decided we're pulling out, which it was because it was a campaign promise. I don't think he understood anything. We started a big freaking mess over there, okay? It was all based upon the original precepts for us to even have this war on terror, which is why the whole Iraq thing is so huge. When I see retards have 4 hits on a video about understanding ISIS and the dynamics of what is going on there, I'm like, wow, nobody really even gives 2 shits, do they? They don't. They don't give 2 shits. But if they realize the significance of this, this is the cherry on the top of the freaking cake. It is. What started the whole war on terror? Bin Laden, which then became, Saddam Hussein, who then somehow was responsible for the 9/11 attacks, who then was somehow the reason why we went in there, because God forbid he had weapons of mass destruction that, maybe we accidentally left there. Oh, what? We gave those to Iraq when they were in the war with Iran? Okay, orchestration. So now, as we have the Department of Homeland Security re-enabling criminal Attorney General Eric Holder, re-enabling the Domestic Terror Division of Homeland Security to sniff out all of this anti-government sentiment. I mean, I could save them $17 million if they want to know what touches off anti-government feelings. How about crony capitalism? How about corporatocracy? How about all of our elected officials taking kickbacks from corporations that are lobbying the shit out of them to pass bills that don't favor the people, but rather favor the corporation, give them nice, big, fat, quarterly checks for their investments, and then the corporation pays no freaking taxes? Yeah, how about that? How about all the computer systems, every time one of you fuckers gets caught and has to go to some subcommittee hearing, how about all the computers that accidentally crash and all the freaking emails are lost? Lois Lerner. Fast and Furious. Oh, whoops, I tripped and I bumped my head and now I have amnesia. Fucking Benghazi. That's what starts it. So how about you give me the check for $17 million and I'll save you all the research. What they're going to do is do more educational technobabble. They have all these ways now to show characteristics of a domestic terrorist. Keywords, scraping, searching, watching. I mean, Orwell on freaking steroids. That's exactly what they're creating. But as I'm watching all this, I'm watching this new domestic terror, anti-government, what did they call it? They were saying that it was racist views. What, racist? You don't like the president because he's black? You don't like Israel because they're Jews? Come on, get off it! Again, fucking criminals! How about that? How about I stand for justice and doing what's right? How about I don't do criminal things? How about I've tried really hard to walk that fine line and do what's right because it was right, not because someone was standing over me with a gun pointed at my head telling me I had to do what's right? Do no harm. That's how you should exercise your life. And if you can manage to do no harm with a net zero impact, you're doing all right. But if you can do better and do lots of good, so you end up with lots of positive karma points at the end, man, you did great. That's what you should be shooting for. These criminals have done the absolute opposite. Do as much negative and suck as much wealth, resources, blood, absolute rape of every system on this planet, and domination for your own small group's benefit. To manipulate and control the masses. That's what it's about. That's called narcissistic personality disorders, what that's called. Look it up. And they all got it. And it's what psychopaths have. So let's use your scientific techno-babble against you. You're all psychopaths. Hear that, FBI? I heard your beep again. So as they're spinning this now to the public, since propaganda was actually made legal in the United States, do you know it was banned? I don't remember. I read the entry. It was back in the 40s or something. They actually banned it in the U.S. Did they ever stop it? No. But it was covert. Wasn't right in your face. With the NDAA 2013, they actually reauthorized propaganda in the United States. So you couldn't believe the mainstream before because they were just a bunch of talking heads. But now there's a massive agenda. So as we're watching CNN at dinner, I always want to watch, since I do the clips, I like to see the rest of the drivel that I'm not seeing in the clips. And do you know what? The way they play it, it is so obvious now how they brainwash people. Like the one thing I love about Pigmind's channel is that it distills all the important points that we should be paying attention to. All the corruption, all the bullshit. Even though it might not come out and say it's bullshit, we all know the backstory. And these little 2-minute clips are like the flashpoints that we should be watching. Oh, look at what they're trying to tell us now, right? But when you put it into a full hour-long newscast with all the blah, 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 blah. Oh, let's get this special blah, 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 blah. Oh, let's get the blah, blah, blah. Oh, let's do a 2-minute report from, and then they're back to the blah, 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 blah. Oh, Bin Laden porn, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? All the distractions, you miss half of it. And all you pay attention to are the things that are unimportant. That's what they want. All you're going to pay attention to is who won the NBA Finals. You know? So anyway, I'm running out of time here quickly. So I want to get back to this correlation between now domestic terrorists and the Middle East terrorists. So with this touching off everything now in Iraq, you got lots and lots of people who gave their lives, who gave their health, who gave their limbs to fight for something they thought was right, who since have come back and discovered that it was all based upon a lie. And not only was it all based upon a lie, but it's what actually touched off this whole war on terror that's now enslaving us. It's what's touched off everything that's happened since 2001. We created much of what is going on over there in many different ways. I've talked about these guys that are now in Iraq, ISIS. These were the original ones that we stuck in the Guantanamo-esque prisons that then mysteriously got broken out. The guns all running out of Libya that, whoops, Hitler, he couldn't remember the details of Libya when Stevens got killed. We're all going to Turkey. They were going to Turkey because they were waiting for all these jihadis who were just released from prison or really pissed off to come get their CIA training and their U.S. issue Russian AK-47 to go running into Syria to oppose Assad. Why? Oh, because there might be an oil pipeline that might be important. Hey, did you guys notice, too? 2 big oil pipeline explosions in the last day or so. One in Iraq and one in the Ukraine. So that's not good. And gas prices here are already close to $4 a gallon, and we are just moving into the summer vacation season. Sure, there's going to be lots and lots of profits, or we could just frack some more, right? Gain our oil independence, our gas independence. But yeah, 2 massive explosions are not good. I lost my train of thought again because somebody messaged me, so give me a second to collect my thoughts. So, Syria got to be a little touchy. ISIS is looking around. I don't know if they decided to do it themselves or if we gave them the wink and said, okay, go for it. But they went back in and they're like, wow, this is easy, man. They're just knocking off one city after another. Bang, 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 bang. I watched something yesterday. They're actually selling the oil that they're capturing from some of these oil wells back to the countries themselves. They're holding them hostage. They're very well financed. And these videos are going, oh, look at, they're making these Hollywood-esque movies that, oh, there's all this money behind them. Where's it coming from? Well, I'm going to say, well, State Department, Alphabet Agency. Hey, how else would we get our ass back into Iraq? Well, make them beg for it on Father's Day and send in the G.W. Bush, G.H.W. Bush. Oh, we're not going to put boots on the ground? Oh, no, the American consulate is in danger. We must put special forces on the ground. I believe they were sending 275 in, and then I saw there's more coming. There are now multiple warships there. The 2 things that I listened to and watched just recently were The Grand Chessboard by Brzezinski and G. Griffin's, I don't remember. I mentioned it again yesterday. I don't remember what it was called. But they both looked at the plan from way, way back then on how to bring about a new world order. All of this, all of it was laid out. None of this is accidental. This game where Russia is our enemy, you know, and we're going to go head-to-head in Syria, and Barry's beating his chest, and we're sending in warships. Do you guys remember that? We were calling him a pussy. You know, I don't want to go to war, but if you're going to go beat your chest and send warships in and do all this, it's just like disciplining a kid. You can yell all you want, but if you let the kid get away with it every time after you yelled and warned them, then it means nothing. You end up getting stepped on and looked at as not an authority in anything. That's exactly what Obama did. But what did that do? Well, that actually boosted numbers for the end of the quarter to start the military-industrial complex flowing again. And not just for us, but for Russia as well, and for China, and for Europe. Look at everybody is ramping up on military gear now. Oh, what? We had all kinds of surplus all over from all these places that we're going to pull out of now to make another fucking quagmire like we did in Iraq? Hey, let's bring them all home and give them away free to the police department. So when we need to call on to the police department, just like it says in one of the NDA documents, that in times of social unrest, the police can be utilized as a domestic military force. Why not give it all to them? And then let's correlate the American public as domestic terrorists. And we get it all sewed up, man. It's all sewed up. Here, if this... I got about a minute or two. Maybe I could play a little bit of this.
For Iraq War veterans, the latest news from that country is especially tough to face. Jan Crawford is in Washington. She says some of the men and women are now wondering if their hard work and sacrifice mean anything right now. Jan, good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Gail. You know, it's been 2.5 years since the last combat troops left Iraq, and talking to these veterans who sacrificed so much, who saw so much loss, it's heartbreaking. When former Army Captain Blake Hall left Iraq in 2007, he remembers being hopeful.
Iraq had an opportunity for long-term political reconciliation.
2 years later, Matt Pelak had a similar feeling when his service was over. The Army sergeant saw progress among the Iraqi Army and people his unit trained.
You'd see more Iraqi Army and Iraqi police on the streets, and you got the feeling that maybe they're getting their act together.
But they also were realistic and fearful about the challenges ahead.
Since I left the country, it's been slowly slipping towards this exact moment, but you could see it coming.
Now, as the situation in Iraq deteriorates, many veterans like Hall and Pelak are questioning what their service accomplished.
Was it a mistake?
All right, and on that note, we are going to have to wrap it up because I am in the last 50 seconds. We'll continue this tomorrow, guys. You know, there is a huge agenda happening here. Don't fall for any of it. They are playing on our heartstrings. They are manipulating us. This whole thing, everything is a psyop. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. And it's been planned for a very long time. And it is turning brother against brother and sister against sister. So don't let it happen to you. Be aware, move outside of it, and look at it for what it is. I want to encourage everybody, please, please, please help keep UCY on the air. Visit the sponsors that we have on our page because 2 cents in a day is not going to keep me paying the bills. Everybody, you have an awesome day. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will stick around. Lots of great radio tonight. It is Wednesday. Boiler Room, Mr. Jimmy Funky is a 2-hour show tonight. Josh, Dana Martin, and Anti-Media Radio. All right, everybody, you have a great Wednesday, and I will catch up with you later. Take care.